Trying to get an accurate temperature reading. I don't want to stand here all day. I think it's -2. I think we'll settle on that. Fluctuates between that. And the time is 10:23. So looking at how the river's freezing, I don't know if you can see it there. Starting to freeze across in there. So it's -2 at 10:30. I'd say it's about -6 last night. -5, -6. I mean, this is warmer than it was during the 4 o'clock in the morning, tell you that. I've got a new sleeping bag. I don't know what the temperature rating is, but I was actually starting to feel a bit cold. I have to have a check on that. But that's because, again, I'm lying right close to that vent and that frosty area. So I'm going to have to do something for tonight because the temperatures are supposed to drop over the next 2 nights. Dog's okay. I've done everything I need to do, so we can start off in a minute. So we're setting off what I roughly would say is normal time for me, about 10:30 roundish. So can't touch a wood that's out because it's all frost covered. If I cut it or anything now, I'm just putting the moisture inside the tent and it'll just smoke like a good one. I want the sun to come round, take the frost off, and then I can start cutting any bits I need. Vent I've checked, that's okay. Don't know what happened last night. All I can think is I was putting in, when I say size logs, they're about the size of this monitor. So that's not too big, is it? But there must have been a lot of moisture in it, and as it was going out the pipe, it was hitting the cold temperatures and freezing at the vent on the top. So I'll keep an eye on that tonight. If I see any smoke and I know what's happening. So what I've been doing is splitting the wood even smaller, and it's been burning really good. And it's burning faster, but sadly, I'm getting good heat, so I'm not going to complain with that. So we're going to set off to Loch Dochard in a minute and search around where Neil was. I'm going to try and find a break in the fence on the way up to see if I can get in the wooded area. But I'm also going to go down to along the Stalker's track and see how that river is at the what we have to cross. I see how that changes through the seasons. I know this river's low, but that doesn't mean that one will be low because they all vary on different rates, what the runoff is and where the runoff is coming from. Plus, I mean, it's winter time, it would probably be higher anyway. Last time I could walk through about ankle deep, I'm guessing, so it wasn't bad at all. But that was in June and 26 degrees. Right, going to take my pack, passing a locator beacon. I've got the monitor for Rogue. She's in a stupid crazy mood this morning. I think it's all fun and games for her and she's enjoyed it. Again, these jackets are not to keep the dogs warm. They're going to be warm moving about. These are just for observation, and as I say, you heard the shooting yesterday if you watched yesterday's video. So they're just for observation and make sure people see them. Don't want anyone shooting and thinking these are young deer or something. You never know, do you? Right, got to get going. At the bridge, posters still up for Neil, so that's good. We'll be getting attention as people walk by. Be careful, you, that's going to be slippery. She won't listen. Better cross a load of ice that's frozen in the river that runs off beside our tent. Good start, eh? Just taking it nice and steady, make sure Stella's okay. 13 years old. She's still doing this, bless her. So I come up here and I saw the fence down last time I was there. I thought, brilliant, I can get through. There's no fence. I'm hoping there's not a fence halfway up and I've still got to get through another fence. So that's something I'm going to have to check. But we're doing that tomorrow. But what we'll do, walk along the path. I'm going up to where Neil was pitched. I'm going to double search around that area. Don't go through there, you. They're going to make it harder on themselves. Oh, they're just searching. I'm scared they're going to try jumping the wire and get tangled. And I've got to check down that river, as I say, but I'm going to check and make sure there's not a mid fence. But if so, look, we can walk straight through. So what's the point of having a fence if there's no fence there? Weird. But anyway, that makes it easier for us, so we can search through there on the way up to where Neil was pitched. But we'll do that tomorrow, straight up tomorrow. The aim of the game, what I was thinking last night, is get as much wood I can get cut over the next couple of days, and then that gets me ahead, and then I don't have to worry about cutting wood in the morning. I've got enough wood stacked drying out inside the tent, and then I can just go get dressed, have some brekkie, get the dogs fed, and just straight out. And every day is going to be like this. Yesterday was supposed to be the day with snow. Thursday might have some snow again, but basically the temperatures are getting colder because the nights are getting clearer and the skies are clearer. So, but we're getting sunshine. So here in the sun, it's not too bad. It's just probably around 0. So that'll do. Right. Yeah, slow stroll up. Just check that gate. I think that's the trail that leads up for those who want to do that Corbett. I believe it's a Corbett. And we've come from up there or down there. Stunning views today, crystal clear, isn't it? Damn freezing. I put the hood on. And that's the way we're going. There's the valley I went up. One of the valleys, there's another one to the right. I went 2/3 up there in June and then stopped because I thought it's not going to be much further, but in the new year we're going to go, that's the route we take, and we're going to go up there and go over the top of that and check around all around them slopes, and there's plenty of slopes and it could be a bit sketchy at places, but we'll be careful. There's going to be a group of us doing that. As I say, there's another valley to the right, but this is the one they all go. I don't know, I'll put a name of that Munro. It's 1,000 and something metres. Some beautiful views. At the top it's quite smooth, you know, it's quite level, no drop-offs as such. There is one on one side, on the, I'm trying to figure out, north, south, on the western side. Sorry, I have to figure out. So on the other side of that peak, there is a drop off, but I want to check all around now on these slopes coming down here, and there's quite a few Munros there you can walk along too. I think you can walk all the way around and behind this thing here, don't know what this one is, to Loch Dochard, if I pronounced that correctly. So that's what we'll be doing. Don't look big, but it's big enough for us. The ponds are frozen. And sadly, I think there's a mid fence coming down that wall, that slope. Mine's gone. So trudging all the way through there, thank God I didn't do it, because I would have reached another fence and wouldn't be able to get across. There's a gate, but all the gates are padlocked. Typical, isn't it? Have a look at further up. At the hut, pond's really frozen up. Sorry if I spun you around too fast. They put little screens on the window areas. Unbelievable. And that one's got like little, yeah, perspex again, isn't it? They actually put a frame in. Obviously they're thinking of shelters for people, but look up there, sadly is that mid fence, so we can't get over that, so we've still got to find a way in. Right, but the post is missing from the outside, but someone's good has put it in here, so sorry about visibility, ain't got a flash on, so people will be taking shelter and they can't miss that, can they? Brilliant. All these names scribbled everywhere. Right. Oh, sorry, you probably won't focus there. So we can shut door. Another view of them slopes. Where we're going up. That's the one dead centre. Not today. In the new year. Right, let's move on. Right, Neil was pitched on the peninsula that's just over here at this mound. What I want to do now is fine tooth comb this whole area and that mound. The reason why I'm fine tooth combing again is all this grass was really high. All the bracken over there was really tall. I'll give you a kind of example. There was a bird watcher lying down in the bracken there. I think it was me and Mike. We walked around there and we saw someone there and then disappeared, and we thought, where was that? So we were looking, and when we went looking for him, we about fell over him. He was hidden in all the bracken, and we apologised when we realised he was a bird watcher. We thought he was like checking on what the party was up to. But anyway, so yeah, fine tooth comb, just in case someone stumbled, fell, and believe it or not, a lot of the search teams in the UK, when they're looking for someone, not all the time, but a lot of times they find someone within 100 feet of the camp. So, you know what I mean? I just want to rule that out. I don't think he's here, but I want to rule it out. And this is the time to do it. Look how the grass is dying down. So we can zigzag across this now. I mean, obviously you can see a lot, but don't forget, how can I put this nicely? A body we decompose, we're looking for like clothing, bones, any human items, you know what I mean, like a watch or something like that. So I'm sorry, I know it's a sensitive issue, but I've got to be realistic and talk realistically. Right, so that's what we're doing. And here we are. This is where we would have been pitched. This is a perfect pitch spot. Easily get 2, 3, maybe 4 tents if you bunch them up tight. Can't what size they are. But yeah, easy 3, 4, not a problem. And it's lumpy ground, but it's quite doable. They marked the spot with the rocks. And as you'll see, right, Stella, get out. Sorry about that. Stella, out in the water, here. I don't want her getting soaked, she'll freeze. It's below freezing. Get out of that water. Are you stupid? And there's the plaque. Rebel, Road, get off it. Sorry, I'm bouncing you around. Oh, the lid on this cold. Still in good condition. And it's still in nice and solid. So, I hope his family do watch his videos. They see the plaque still there and it's all good. Now we're going to search this mound because this bracken, as I said, was good 5 high, maybe higher. It's all died down. This is a perfect time to search it. I've been around this loch about 4 times. The water receded during June, and you could see quite a way in. There's been dive teams in. There's been search teams prodding with poles and everything. Plus, the report is from the locals that if anything ends up in the water, like dead deer or anything, it gets flown through to a pool that everything collects in at the end before it goes through the rocks, and nothing's ever been found because in the past they found dead deer and everything, and they all collect. And when I went round there, you could see all the old trunks, tree trunks and big things, I don't know, wood, everything in it. It all collected in that area, so he's never been found there. Right, check this bracken. This is where the bird watcher was lying. He was lying along here. All the ferns are over him, the grass was high, and we came up over this track here, knowing someone was round, thinking what are they up to. And even when we got close to him, we couldn't see him. We more or less walked on him. So it just shows how high the grass was. But it's so easy to search now. It's the best time of year to search. If you're searching the land, that is. Before the snow comes. Nothing so far, sadly. Right, I'll let you, the viewers, give your opinions. I'm now standing where the tent was pitched. Neil Skinner, age 71, from Doncaster, South Yorkshire, was last seen captured on CCTV camera at the Green Welly shop in Tyndrum on May the 7th, 2022. He had come up with two friends, one of them had driven up. Neil had found out last minute that they were heading off to the Loch Dochard and Glenetiv areas and decided to join them. He'd previously hiked with the couple. It was a man and woman, as far as I know. I can only give you the information that I know. And they'd been hiking in Isle of Skye, I believe, 5 months earlier, when Neil went missing for 5 hours, where he wandered off somewhere on the Munros or higher ground. Again, I don't know the full details. As I say, was missing 5 hours, and Mountain Rescue managed to find him. Now, Neil wasn't, how can I say, average health, I'll say. I'll be polite. I mean, he'd had a stroke, he had Alzheimer's, he was on medication, and from what I gather, one of his feet were giving him problems, one of his knee, one of his ankles, or maybe a foot was giving him some problems off and on. Nothing serious, but like arthritis, something like that. He had a long history of going missing. Even when he was young, he used to take his children for hikes and they would get missing. I believe I read somewhere, and it's been confirmed, that they went on a charity run or a hike and they got lost on that, and they came in last, even after all the fun runners and the old age pensioners and all that have been doing it. So Neil had a terrible history of coordination and managing kind of, you know, his whereabouts, shall I say. Nothing in the serious sense that, you know, he was mentally problems or anything like that. It's just that he did suffer from this issue. I've heard various versions, and I've checked on the internet, I've checked through the press releases, I've checked through forums, I've done so much research, and I'll give you different versions. One version is the one that most people are sticking with, is that he came up with his two friends on the May the 7th. He was captured on that CCTV at the Green Welly. They're driven up from Yorkshire. I don't know if his friends lived in Yorkshire as well, but I'm guessing it was a 5 or 6 hour drive up. Obviously, stopping at the Green Welly, Tyndrum, they weren't in no rush, or if they were in a rush, they were kind of picking up last bits or something like that. I don't know. I can only guess, you know what I mean? So, putting times together, I don't think they set off like me overnight. I think they would set off early morning, maybe 7, 8, maybe 9. I don't know. So that would lead to, at the earliest, probably lunchtime. And sorry, I was just checking if there were head torches on. So I'm guessing the earliest they would have ended at Tyndrum is at 12 lunchtime. Now the story goes, and I'm sorry, I've got to use the word story because it seems a bit unrealistic to me, but that's my opinion, and I'm stating this. This is only my opinion. That they hiked up, they parked at Victoria Bridge of Orchy, after stopping at Tyndrum, and they then hiked from Victoria Bridge car park past Loch Dochard. There was no hint that they stopped at Loch Dochard. So they hiked past Loch Dochard, and they were continuing to hike to Glenetiv area, which I'm guessing would be Armadi Bay, the nearest nicest spot to camp. Now, I've done various estimates on the distances, taking out straight lines, doing zigzags and all this kind of, and I'm getting ranges from 14 to 16 miles. Now, please take that into consideration. Here's Neil that's 71 years old. It's got had problems with a stroke in the past, but he's recovered, but he's still on medication. He has told one of his family members he's had an ankle or foot problem that's giving him some stick and it's playing up. And they're off to hike 14 to 16 mile. I can't see that being done to me. Yes. I forget to add that they were coming out for 5 to 6 days to stop over and do kind of camping and hiking. I'm guessing again, I do not know, Munros and hill at high areas. So you can imagine how much weight they were carrying in the pack. It's estimate roughly. These weren't like specialist lightweight packers, and they weren't heavyweight packers like me that I take the kitchen sink because when I'm hiking with my dogs. They would have been carrying on rough estimate about 30 pounds at least, maybe 35, to do a 14 to 16 mile hike after doing a 5 to 6 hour drive, arriving probably midday at the earliest, and taking that time to cover 14 to 16 miles just seems unrealistic. But the story goes, they carried on past Loch Dochard and headed down Glen Kinglass, and about an hour and a half after they passed Loch Dochard, Neil said, and I'll quote because it does get taken out of context, "I'm not feeling it." He didn't say he was unwell. He didn't say, anything else, anything problem. He just says, "I'm not feeling it." And I don't know what was discussed, but Neil decided to turn round and walk back after doing all this, back carrying his pack, an hour and a half back where he's just come from, which again, for me, seems a bit weird, but it's say he did it. I mean, me, I would pitch, if I weren't feeling it, I'd pitch where I am and just rest and say I'll catch you up tomorrow, you know what I mean? But anyway, his friends agreed for him to turn round, and they left him. I don't say that in the sense that they kind of ditched him or anything like that. I mean, they headed off towards Glen Etive, and Neil headed back to Loch Dochard. That's where he said he was going to pitch. They gave him a spare car key. I'm guessing they would have said something like, if you any problems or whatever, get back to the car and wait at the car and we'll meet you there if there's any issues, you know what I mean? I'm only guessing here. I've not been told anything else. Anything that I've been told confidentially, I will not release in these videos. So that was the last day they saw of him. He headed back, and they carried on to Glen Etive. That night, I believe, the weather turned bad, and they decided, after hiking 16 miles and the weather turning bad one night, to turn round and head back to pick Neil up after planning to do a 5 or 6 day trip. Which to me, again, this is my opinion again, I'm stating again, it's my opinion. I've not been told anything. But to me, it states it's silly. Why would you hike 14 to 16 miles to pitch at Glen Etive, have some bad weather kick in, and then say, we better go back and pick Neil up and go back home? I don't understand that. You know what I mean? Surely they would have checked forecasts before they went out. Surely they would have watched the TV weather reports. Surely they would have got a mountain report. Anything, you know what I mean? If they're going to go on Munros and higher ground. But anyway, that's beside me. I don't know what's happened. So they hiked the 11 miles, because I've done the measurements, as I say. Give it. Let's call it between 10 and 11, to be fair to them. And they reach Loch Dochard, and this would be on the 8th, I'm guessing, because they went down on the 7th, so it would be the 8th. And they found Neil's tent, all his possessions in there. His sleeping bag was unrolled, mat set up, poles, wallet, phone, food, water, head torch, basically everything a person would need, except for his coat and his boots and things he was wearing. And they couldn't find him. So after a quick search, this is what I've been told, after a quick search, they then headed towards the Victoria Bridge car park, thinking he might be at the car. They arrived at the car and there was still no sign of Neil, and the weather's turned nasty by this time. It'd probably been raining earlier, I don't know. I've heard so many reports that it was raining when they came back, it was raining when they got back to the tent, and the weather turned nasty when they got back to the car. But anyway, they decided there was an issue, so they then walked to, is it the Inverain Hotel, which is only just up the road, about a mile up the road, and raised the alarm and notified the police and mountain rescue. Then mountain rescue came out, but the weather turned so bad over the next 48 hours that some resources couldn't be used, like helicopter. I believe the dogs couldn't be used, and they searched everywhere. They brought in dive teams over the next few days. They brought the dogs. Helicopters did search. They had everything. Even these dogs can detect dead bodies, and all the resources were put out, and they searched all the areas that I've gone over, and I've since covered again just to make sure. Not a trace. All his gear was left there. His hiking poles, everything was still in the tent. It was like he basically walked out his tent and disappeared. Now that's one version I've heard. Another version is they came up, they were caught out on CCTV at Tyndrum at the Green Welly shop. They parked at Victoria Bridge car park. They then hiked from Victoria Bridge car park to Loch Dochard, and they all pitched at Loch Dochard. Now, I believe the reports state that they decided to go on to Glen Etive, but Neil decided to stay. Now, this is the problem. This is where a lot of people get kind of uptight about. People are kind of pointing fingers and all that. They left him and went to Glen Etive. I don't know if that was true, if he forced them to go, if he said to go, if he convinced them to go. I can't put words in people's mouths, and I can't make accusations or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I've heard, and it's been covered not just in the press. It's also, there's one or two family members in the past that posted on forums, and I don't know who the family members are because they were using members' names, and they've been it says on the forums they've been confirmed family members, and did say they pitched at Loch Dochard altogether, and then the next day the two friends left Neil at Loch Dochard. But the same situation again, when they got back the next day, they decided to come back the next day again due to bad weather, and the same situation, the tent and Neil not been around, and how they raised the alarm. So there's that one and the first one. And then there's another one that I've read, and it's been confirmed again, I think in a police report, where they came up on the 7th. And the reason they were caught at the Green Welly shop at Tyndrum is because they decided to pitch at a local campsite there, which there is a campsite at Tyndrum. Hence why they were caught at the Green Welly shop, picking up last bits. I would guess then, I know no more information, I would guess then the next day on the 8th they decided to hike up to past Loch Dochard, or to Loch Dochard, we do not know which, and then the alarm was raised the following day. Now, there's been reports that a group of hikers, or a hiker, coming up on the day that the friends were still at Glen Etive, came up and saw Neil's tent pitched by itself, and saw a man poke his head out the tent, don't know what he was doing, and recognised it as Neil later on in reports. But I don't know if we can take that with a pinch of salt, because I've been up on that track And I've seen the tent site, and you'd have to be damn good to see a head poke out and recognise it as Neil from a distance of that distance. So I would take that report with a pinch of salt. So that's as much as I know. There's no reports of them doing any other plans. There's no reports of any disagreements, fights, or anything like that. The only thing that is a bit weird is that Neil was wearing a red jacket, and then he swapped it with the lady friend that had a grey or green. And we don't know. I've had different reports where the jacket is a grey, and other people report it as a green. So that made it totally crazy, because if he was wearing his red jacket, it would have helped so much. But instead he changed to either a grey or a green jacket. The other really crazy thing is that he had waterproofs, and they were bright colour. I believe they were red, or at least bright colour waterproofs, but he didn't use them. So he obviously didn't go out when it was pouring down the rain. So taking the friends away, taking all the other reports away, and the mountain rescue was searching away, and people might have spotted. There's several theories that we've all put up, but they're only theories. No one knows. That one, he went out to get water and fell in the loch, but that's been checked. The dive teams have been in it. They've had the dog that can detect bodies. They've had a dog in a boat, and it can actually sniff bodies in the water. I don't know how it does it, but it does it. Thankfully, the river ran really low last year. So if anything was wedged under trees or anything like that, it would have been spotted, because I literally walked up the river on the way home because it was that dry. You had little streams either side on the channels. The other idea is that he might have left his tent to have a call on nature, and hence why he might have gone over that wood fence that's about 6 foot high, where I searched the other day, and somehow fell in a hole, got disorientated or something like that. But again, I think we can kick that into touch, because he didn't have hiking poles. To go more than 500 or 600 meters, you're going to be pushing into bracken and getting your face cut up. You're going to be falling in holes and being stuck where you are. You're not going to get much further, because it's just deadly, you know what I mean? And plus, search teams have been in there with dogs. I've been in there now when the heather's right down, the grass is right down, and you can have a good snoop around and look around. So that's been kicked into touch. We thought he might have headed back. We've all come up with a theory he might have headed back, left his tent, left his phone, left his keys, left everything, which wouldn't make sense, but might have headed back to the car with that car key, because he might have wanted to go back to pick some bits up, because he had left some gear in the car. But I don't know, again, when they got back to the car, if the stuff was in the car still. But that doesn't make sense, because you wouldn't leave your vital possessions like your phone, your home keys or whatever, a wallet and all that in the tent if you're going all the way back to the car. They're the kind of bits you would pick up and put in your pockets. It don't cost 10 seconds to do that. So we don't believe he done that. The other thing that they noted when they got to the tent, from what I've been told, and I've talked to family members and other people involved, is that one meal was eaten, and I believe it's half a cup of tea or half a cup of coffee. I believe it was half a cup of tea was still in the mug, obviously cold. And I believe that was a volunteer talked to the two people involved that were his friends that were with him, and they told him this is what they found. So that means he's had a meal. I don't believe there was any other rubbish found or anything like that. And he's had a half a cup of tea. So what's happened? that kind of leads to the idea that he might have gone for an evening stroll before the weather changed. Hence why I think, this is why I believe he's followed that stalker's track. He probably intended to go round the loch, but luckily he picked out a track, and that track then led to the stalker's track. Hence he got hooked onto the stalker's track and got carried away. That's my only reasoning I can believe that's what's happened. So you know the full facts as much as I do. And we've had volunteers out, other volunteers have been up hiking different passes. I've been up the two valleys and we didn't really locate anything, but there was only two of us doing it. It's a big valleys they are. So we need to do the slopes. We need to do some of the higher ground, not just the Munros, but there's like, I wouldn't call them even corbettes. They're smaller than corbettes that are in front of these Munros that need to be checked, because there's so many slopes where he could have gone out. Because the thing about Neil was he was a keen, he'd done loads of Munros in the past, he'd done a lot of hill walking, so he was a keen hill person, if you get what I mean. So again, that points to that general direction. The only other thing is, if the story is true that his friends left him and went to Glen Kinglass, he might have decided to follow the track down to Glen Kinglass just as a walk, just to see where it heads, you know what I mean? Because you don't need hiking poles for that track. It's a really decent track. And it might have been just, again, an evening stroll, and he somehow strayed off that. So that's what I was saying the other day, that still needs to be covered, that area beyond Loch Dochard, going down Kenglingas, where we can search maybe 200-300 yards each side and see what could have drawn him to, you know, again, if there's any high areas and all that. I've gone quite a way down there, but I've not pushed it too far even in the past myself personally. So you know as much as I know, and as I say, everything I reported is not something that's been told in confidential terms. I've backed it up with what I've read on the internet, on forums, posts that people have posted on the forums, and I can raise now and provide to anyone that queries it. You know what I mean? I've spent months and months researching and studying this. You know what I mean? So, like anything in life, you can't take what you're told every time for granted, because there's different versions. People get confused, people pick up different ideas. It's like Chinese whispers, you know, one person passes on a message and it changes from one thing to another by the time it's got about 10-20 people down the line. So you know as much as I know no more than that, and I'll leave you to give your opinions or have your doubts or whatever. I'm not going to put anything in anyone's mind, but I know what I believe, and I'll keep that to myself, and I know where I'm going to search. And again, I've not hidden that. You all know where I'm going to search. I believe he's wandered out into the hills. I think he just got carried away. I think an evening stroll turned to let's go a bit further. And we've all done it. We've all done it. I think any hiker that can stand up now and say, oh, well, just a little bit further and then I'll rest, or just a bit further and I'll set out count. And I think he's done exactly that. But what he's done is he's gone for an evening stroll, and it's been, oh, where's this track lead? And then he's followed that track and he's gone, wow, that looks quite easy to go. I'll go up there. He never intended to go far. That's why he didn't bring his waterproofs, didn't bring his hiking poles, didn't bring anything he needed, because he just got carried away. And that is typical of what I've heard from Neil. He just wanders. And to think that he hiked in Skye and went missing for 5 hours, and Mountain Rescue found him after 5 hours, and luckily he was coming down at a time when they found him. You imagine where he could end up here 5 hours from his tent if he went wandering. So, as I say, you know as much as I do. I'm not going to put any opinions or any pointers to anything, but I just want to make it clear you know everything that I know, and you can make your own opinions and have your own doubts. And that's Neil Skinner's story, and how he went missing, and what happened to him, no one knows. I don't know if you can see several trails here. This one's an old one because I've walked this one before, but there's several I'm guessing deer trails going off. So it's not hard to walk around. Even in the summer, you'd see it probably easier in the summer because there's no frost or anything over it. Because once they get trod down in and out of wet spells, the trails stand out a lot more. As I say, we've covered all that area near the edge of the lot. I'm just scanning up here, and when I come back I'll go over these high bits and scan round again. But I've stopped here talking to you. I just want to see how many minutes it takes just to get to that stalker's trap, because I do believe he was just wandering like he's been known to do. And again, going back to the story, as I say, I believe all of them pitched there. And that's not a negative on his two friends. By saying that they cleared off and went to Glen Etive, I'm not trying to be a down on them. What happened, I think, he wandered off out his tent. I believe Neil probably wandered out his tent and when they were in their tent. And I think they feel guilty about it. And it's standing, isn't it? And they were probably scared the kind of reaction they'd get if they said, well, he wandered off while we were with him. So by saying he'd turned round and gone back by himself, it kind of separates themselves from Neil. I'm sorry again if I'm crossing any borders or boundaries here, but I can't be honest, and you're not going to drive 5 or 6 miles from Yorkshire, stop at Tyndrum to get some bits, so you're not in a rush to get to Victoria Bridge car park. You're taking it nice and easy. Get Victoria Bridge car park and then trudge a 14, 15 or 16 mile, whatever it is. I'm giving you the rough approximate range. To then start your 5 or 6 days when you've got all this in front of you. What you would do is you'd have an easy day the first day, stop at Loch Dochard, and then the next morning get up and probably set off for Glen Etive. It's a nice little step, that is. I think that would have been the original plan. But I think the bug got to him. What is behind every outdoor person is their passion, what they enjoy. Some people like me, I like roaming in the wilds. Some people like Munros and the mountains and all that. And when you've got it, look, it's more like spitting distance, all this. I mean, it looks really close. Obviously, when you're walking it's further, but it's easy to do. It's not hard at all. And hence, I think he got carried away. And his wandering took over. So we've got, as I say, in the new year, a group of us are going up there and we're going to scout as far as we can, and even some of the tops and slopes. But we've got to wait for the snow to go because it counts what kind of year we have. But again, as I say, I get the comments, side comments from people saying, well, you shouldn't state your opinion, you shouldn't state this, you shouldn't state that. But I've come off all the Facebook groups, obviously, because I don't want to be connected to them, so that if I say anything or do anything that I've been told or anything, then I've been classed as breaching their trust or whatever. So by not being with the groups, I'm independent. So being independent, I can say what I believe, and I'm not being negative on anyone. I just think it was a collection of tragic circumstances that all added together. And I think the wake-up call was Neil going missing in Skye, and people knew it was an emergency, but he laughed it off, and he's laughing off. Obviously, he's promises that he was okay and all that probably took over, and people trusted these, but they probably had worries in the back of their mind. But it was with two people. I just think he left his tent and kind of waltzed off. And they were together in one tent, I'm guessing, and he was by himself. So if he says he's going out, they're going to go, where you going, Neil? He's going for a drink, going for a slight stroll. Don't go far, you know what I mean? Them kind of things are all said, ain't they? And what happens? He probably did exactly that, went too far. Right, let's go to the Stalker's Trap. That's where Neil was pitched. Just left of that silver tree. I'm trying to pick it up. There you go. And that clearing. I came round 25 minutes past, and it's now 36. I spent 5 minutes standing still talking to you on the, what you call it, on the camera, and then look at this clearing trail that leads to them. So, and I was searching, talking to you, and it took me what, 6 minutes. And don't forget, last time Neil wandered for 5 hours. Now, as I say, there's always the possibility he followed that trail that goes right over the top, and we're headed towards Glen King Glass, which none of us have really covered further than them small lochans that are behind these mounds. Me and Mike did, one of the first, second searches, sorry. But I still think this is the area to look. I'm sorry if I'm directing everyone to search up here, and I probably could be totally wrong, but it's just an intuition. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, I just feel it. Sheets of ice everywhere. Oof. How deep is that? Not deep at all. Impressed. So we can cross it. It seems to run off really quick, this one. Thank God. Rogue, rebel, Stella. Don't need to go into deep water. And here's our pitch spot from June. Hey you! Need some cows or something have been leaving droppings. Thank you. Oh, beautiful. Excuse me for eating again. Having a rest, trail mix. And I've been trying out these Vortex Viper HD binoculars. They normally cost £500. I didn't spend that. Rogue, go away. Lie down, flat. Excuse me, I've got to tell them every now and then. I've been just using it to scan around here, and obviously I wasn't looking for anything, but just testing them out. Because when we're on these slopes at the tops next year, and there's dead ground or drop-offs that we can look at from a different direction, that's when binoculars will help, if we can pick anything up. And these are quite powerful binoculars. I can't remember what they are. I'll have to put it up on the screen what they are. Decent enough. They've got great recommendations. As I say, for that money you expect, it's real good Japanese glass. It's supposed to be the best glass you get on binoculars or something. So I thought, I can't get a drone. I can't fly a drone and keep an eye on the dogs and have the weight and all that. So what I need is a drone pilot to scan this area, especially at winter time, when you can go over and all the grass. Look at that, grass is dying right down there. If you remember in June, we walked through this, it was about thigh high. This would be a perfect time to fly a drone and scan over. Sorry if you're unfocusing. And that could rule out that then, you know what I mean? If it just hovers over, takes it nice and steady, does kind of zigzags. It's not endangering the drone, because, you know what I mean, people worry about using the drone and maybe losing it. But here, you can easily walk to it You might have to dodge some marshy spots, but you'll easily get to your drone. It's not like if you're using it in these valleys and it gets stuck halfway up the valley. And the same over here. If you could use a drone, I've walked it, but I'd like someone, sorry, unfocused you there, directly in front of us on this bank area, because there's a lot of dead spots. But this is the area that I really do need a drone working. I was trying to get a friend to join me just before the storms all hit, and they were all eager to come, and the person had a drone and was just using the drone. It would have been great to come out here, spend some time practicing with it, and the person would have a great time enjoying it, but also help me out at the same time. But the person backed out last minute. Again, there's no blame on anyone. I got COVID. So easy, things kick in. You know what I mean? You have work commitments, job home commitments, whatever. You know, it's no blame on anyone. Rogue, get away from my. She's after my trail mix. Leave it. I'll kill her. She can't keep her nose out anyway. That's the other thing. You got to have eyes in the back of your heads when you're doing this with the dogs. It's warmed up. I took my hood down. It's actually getting warmer. Right, take some photos, have a little gander around, then head up back and cover the higher area back up here on the higher slopes. I don't think anyone's gone there. I just checked a minute ago with the binoculars. This is where they came in handy, and there's another fence going up the middle there, so it is a section that's actually fenced off and I can't get in. Now I might come up tomorrow, jump over the fence myself and do a quick kind of scan route. I can't see what I'm going to achieve by myself if I can't get the dogs in. That's what I want them doing, this kind of thing where he's just been nosy, and that's what I don't mind them doing. But I have to ponder on that. There's no breaks in the fence. There's break, as I say at the beginning. I don't know about that end, but all the gates are padlocked. I've been over and checked them. All padlocked. And the other ones are like crawling over gates, you know what I mean, that are secured. So, no good for me. I mean, I can go over him, but no good with the dog. I don't know. See what I mean? Rebel's a nosy one. That's what I want to see. I mean, obviously he's tracking deer. We've been up and down this path for God knows how many times. But he's the one that's always, look, he suddenly realised, oh, he got carried away. But I'm not going to chastise him or anything when he does that, because he's doing what I want him to do, searching around. Leave that, Rogue. She's looking at deer poo. Right. More photos and then trail mix. Out of breath. I've been scanning along there. We went down that slope down there, so I came back over here, come up here. I'm using the high ground. Grass is really low, so anything that would stand out that's abnormal would show, trust me. Something would catch your eye, because I've found a couple of weird coloured rocks and they've caught me eye, and I've gone over to them and it's just weird rocks, you know what I mean? I'm looking, I'm searching. Dogs are up. Hey, get up, get here. Silly dog, get here. Yeah, lie down, flats. Rest for a minute. So I'm using these high spots just to look around, but I want to clear that kind of theory that the person could be missing 100 feet from his campsite, because it does happen so many times. I'd love to get in there, but it's fenced off at the top there, then it's fenced at the back, it's fenced here, and it's fenced on that side, so I can get in, but the dogs can't. Shh, stumped. It's getting chilly now. I think that's because I stopped down there. And there's a breeze as well. Right, more searching, just in and out, weaving in these, just in case, you never know. It's probably been covered a million times, but you can never go wrong covering it 1,000,001, can you? Here we are, perched up here. And so, I mean, the grass is so low. Just looking down on it and taking your time looking, You'll spot anything that stands out. And all this would be at least shin high, probably knee high. So in the summer months, early spring, summer months, it soon shoots up. Now you see why I want to get in there, because I could see a lot more in there, couldn't I? I might have to go and do a quick scan tomorrow, and hopefully the dogs will just run up and down and won't go crazy on the other side of the fence. I'm scared they're going to try and get through because they don't want to be separate from me. We'll see how it goes. I'll think about it. Must be a way. Right, so we've covered the lower slopes, covered the higher slopes, covered these high spots, covered most of that 2/3 up that slope to the Stalker's track. Sorry if I've unfocused you. Got to the Stalker's track, checked the river crossing to make sure it has, see how bad it is, even at this time of year. Look, Rebel's off on a mission. Good. As I say, he's the one, if you notice, he's the one that always wanders off and digs around. Trust me, if he finds something, he'll let you know. God knows what that was, probably sheep poo. Deer poo. Right, heading back now and trying to ponder on this fence. If I can get the dogs under the fence, then I'll try that. I'll see if there's any big enough gaps to get them under. It's cold. Time is 5 minutes past 1. Not bad at all. Sorry, I'm messing about with watch before I talk to you. So yeah, we'll head back. Get back about 2ish. Have a coffee, cut some wood, feed dogs, and then, as I say, the night closes in so quick, so I'll be cutting more wood as well and securing the tent a bit more, because I think the temperature's even going to be lower tonight, because it hasn't got much above. I don't think it's above freezing in the shade. Right, see you further on. Right, the campsite's just beyond this tree here. Sorry, I'm focused here. Now another theory has always been, did Neil climb this fence for a call of nature? I know it sounds crazy, but hey, you've got to cover it. Now the thing is, yeah, okay, when he's over there, he's hidden from view, but a lot of people raise the point that maybe he wanted his privacy or whatever, but there's so much dead ground on this side that if you were like beyond that rock there, I don't know if you can see it, if I was walking here, I wouldn't know you're there. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of dead ground, and if you're on the other side of the loch, you're not going to see someone having a call of nature, are you? And he'd be out his sight of his friends. He could be around this corner on this bank here, and still be out. When you're walking by, you don't see it until you get over here. So people walking, if there were people hiking, and let's be honest, the foot traffic along this top track is probably what, 3 or 4 people, maybe every 2 or 3 hours at the most, unless there's some event on. So it's not like he's going to be having a call of nature and then having to rush or panic because someone's walking by. And let's be honest, if you were, we've all done it, you know what I mean? So no one's going to raise any alarm. The other thing is, he could have a call of nature on the side of that mound over there and no one would see him, and he'd have a great view of the Munros. So there's no real reason for him to climb a 6-foot fence with a wire over the top. See the wire? I mean, he could easily have fallen on the other side. We've checked, don't worry, people have been over and had a look. So I don't really think he's in there, but I can't get in there. I thought I could just walk up from that broken fence down the bottom, but I can't. Shame. Right, we're off back to camp. No, it's a blood trail. On the way back, one of the dogs picked it up. You can see it. I thought it was like the heather. You can see the dogs are sniffing. Go, go. Right. Rebel, get down from up there. You mountain lion. I don't know what he's licking up there. Could be a bird of prey or something like that. Got something. Anyway. The clouds coming in. That's it. In front of us, and it is moving this way. It could be snow. There again, it was supposed to snow last night. It did. And I don't know what happened. It stopped. Look at that, trying to get up there now. 3:20. Fed dogs. Got everything done. Firewood's cut, and it's just started to snow. So that's us battening down the hatches, and it's freezing. So I've got to get the fire going. Will we get any snow this time, or is it just a shower? No flash, real time, real conditions. That was good timing. Got back, I can't remember what time it was, but it was a decent time, about 2:15, something like that. Ploughed straight into doing the jobs. I knew the dogs need time to settle, so before feeding, so I thought I'd let them settle down for a bit, dried them off, put their jackets, the warm jackets on, cover them up, then started cutting firewood and gathering firewood that I need. I've got heaps of wood in here, so you can do anything it likes outside. I've tightened the guy lines. There's a bit of a breeze. Sounds like a mix between sleet and hail, but it's cold enough to snow. It could be just a shower. I saw it coming in and I thought, is it going to hit us? But it hit Glencoe and Glenettive area first. It kind of swung round and hit us. And I just finished cutting the firewood, fed the dogs. Last seconds of feeding the dogs, it started sleeting or whatever. So got the fire started, settled down, get some heat. Excuse me, dust. Oh, it's not burning great yet, but we need to get some coals going. Once it starts going, it should be fine. Can split the wood. There's some dry wood. Got to find it now. Oh no, it's underneath the fire, God. So that'll get me started. I find it, if I stick it underneath the fire really close by, that's not close enough. It needs to be right under or at the front. It's no fire risk, but it dries the wood out, and then when you put it in, it burns much better. And splitting it helps a lot. Just keep an eye on the chimney. If I see any smoke coming out the front, then I know the chimney's freezing again. Don't know what happened last night. Completely confused with that one. It's baffled me. So water's brewing, and we're having a late lunch about, what time is it now? 20 to 4. Gotta eat. Gotta make sure you have your meals. Otherwise that's when you will feel cold. So now it's just sit. I tell you what, before I go, I could just sit here watching this fire all for hours. Just watch it glowing. It's so, the psychological effect is just unbelievable. So yeah, really happy with the fire. Happy with the tent so far. Haven't seen what it's like in rain. Canvas always looks thin, doesn't it? But because you can see a lot of light out even now. But it's really getting bleak out there. But yeah, see what the tent does in the rain, if we get any sleet, you know, kind of wet stuff. Hopefully it'll be fine. Right, and I'll keep an eye on that vent. Right, catch you later, or see you tomorrow. I don't know what will happen next. We might be 6 inches in snow by 6 o'clock, who knows? Or it could just freeze again. I think it'll freeze. See you later.